database things. I think that's tricky. So you have that to look forward to. All right, let's see if we can wrap up this page before we go to break. So we made an index page. I'm going to make a show page now. I'm going to do candidates show HVS. And then I'm going to make a root for this. So I'm not going to do it by ID. Instead, I'm going to do it by name. So when you go to /candidates/Steve, it shows you Steve's page. Could do ID or something if you wanted to, but that's lame. And I don't know, I don't like seeing IDs in my URLs. I like seeing something I can read and understand a bit better. So we're going to do names instead. So when I do this, I'm going to need to find the appropriate candidate in this array of candidates I have. So I'm going to loop through it, candidates dot for each. And then I'm going to say var desired candidate equals rec params.name. So rec params, it's like params in Ruby. Or in Rails, excuse me. It's anything that begins with a colon in here goes into rec params. So if I go to /candidate/Steve, then rec params.name should be Steve. So now I can loop through all of these and say if candidate.name equals desired candidate, then I'm going to say, let's see, I'm going to need one more thing, var candidate out. Okay, so this is going to loop through all of my candidates, and if it finds a candidate who has the name I'm looking for, then it's going to save it to this variable called candidate out. So now the last thing I need to do is make that show up on the page. So I'm going to do res render candidates show, and then in here I'm going to say candidate out. All right, so there's that, and now I'm going to make it show up in here. So I'm going to say, let's see, what should this look like? h2 candidate.name for president in candidate.year. All right, I think that's it. So I'm going to try going to /candidate/Steve, and I see Steve for president in 2024. That's pretty cool. If I go to /Barry, I'll see Barry for president in 2008. If I go to Barry with a lowercase b, it's not going to find anything. It is case sensitive. And it would be nice if instead of for president in, it gave me some sort of like error message or something so I know what's going on. So what I'm going to do, yeah, Casey?
Let's say on the user side then, since they're not always going to know to capitalize that and then get an error, is there a way to fix that?
Well, presumably they're not going to actually have to type it in themselves. Presumably I'm going to add a link on here that links to that so they don't even need to worry about it. And in fact, why don't I do that now while I'm thinking about it? Yeah, did you have a question?
Well, I was just thinking about that method to uppercase or to uppercase.
Oh, can't
Well, but that'll uppercase the entire thing. So that still wouldn't work. And unfortunately, JavaScript doesn't have a built-in capitalize method. Also, down the road, we're going to be doing this with Twitter handles. And so mine is Robert, a.k.a. Robin, where like that AKA in the middle is capitalized. So even if we did have dot capitalize, still wouldn't work. So I'm going to do this. Now I should get some sweet links going on here. There you go. Now if I click on this, it should take me to W. There we go. But let's make it work if I go to WR, and he doesn't exist. So what I'm going to say is unless candidate h2 that candidate doesn't exist, else do that /unless. And now I get that candidate doesn't exist. If I go to W, I get W. So unless means unless this is truthy. So unless something is defined inside candidate, show this guy. Yeah. So unless this is true, show this. If it actually is true, then show this thing. It gets confusing when I try to read it, when I try to like say it, but reading it, it makes more sense, I feel like. Unless candidate. It's sort of like the opposite of if. If I did if candidate, then it would show the first thing if the candidate doesn't exist, and it would show the second thing if the candidate does exist, which isn't any help at all. So I'm doing unless. Unless is the opposite of if. And now I've got a sweet little dynamic app. There we go. Hold on 1 second. Yep. Okay, yeah, Sanjay.
So then theoretically you could just, instead of doing unless, do if, and just reverse where those two are.
Yeah, so I could do if candidate, and do that, else, do that, and I need to change that to if, and that also works totally fine.
So, okay.
So why did I do it with unless?
Yes.
Yeah, it's because there's going to be a lot more information on here down the road, and so if I start off with the actual candidate, this thing is going to be really long, and I'm probably going to forget that there's this other little guy down here at the end. Yeah, really good question. In retrospect, probably not the best idea, but oh well. Okay, cool. So I'm going to give you guys 13 minutes, so that's until 12:10 to get caught up to this point. If you do get done, then try this deploy to Heroku step next. We'll do that together, but if you finish early, give it a shot. So we'll start back up again at 12:10.